Warning, network marketers. Warning. I sound like the dude on the self-proclaimed guru on YouTube. Warning, network marketers. The dude that wants to build a funnel for you for $10,000. I don't remember his name right now. But really, warning, network marketers, because we got to be concerned about this. Crypto investment platforms, the Forex trading, education, and precious metal programs, they're flat out Ponzi schemes, and we got to keep people from getting involved in them. That's what we're going to talk about on this week's session of the MLM Success Podcast.
Welcome to the MLMsuccess.com podcast, the show designed to return the network marketing industry to its roots of personal growth, leadership development, and wisdom of the ages success principles. We share with you real success stories from real people that we hope will inspire and encourage you personally and help you progress forward in your business and your life. We believe if you build people, people will build the business. Now here is your host, who has been called the number one mind in network marketing, the MLM Prophet, network marketing virtual mentor, and a host of other names that we will not mention because this is a family show. Frankly, he's just a small-town guy that figured out that the real product in network marketing is people. Dale Calvert.
You know, we just stop and sit back and look at it. The internet is absolutely full of people that are trying to learn how to make money online. But there's very few people that have the mentality that they want to start a business online that makes them money. A real business with real customers, real systems that create a predictable path to success. I mean, and again, I want to make some money online, so they go online and they start looking. And again, there's a major difference in the mentality of wanting to make money online or wanting to create a business that creates cash flow and do it online. You know, and I think this is one of the major paradigm shifts that I'm starting to realize. When I started back in the industry, you know, years and years ago, and how I started, and I guess the start and my mentality when I started really formed a lot of the way I look at this business from that point forward, because I was not looking for a way to make extra money. I was looking for a business that I could start. And at the time, you know, I was buying all the rag publications in the bookstores, the, you know, Income Opportunities magazines, and sending away for all the packets on everything that they offered, whether it was cleaning carpets or bronzing baby shoes and growing earthworms in your basement. I mean, I bought and sent away for all the packets, the information on all these businesses, home businesses that were being offered in these magazines. And so I was looking for a business when I found the network marketing business model. And again, I think that perception, a lot of people just, you know, a friend or family member, coworker exposes them to the opportunity to make money, and then they get into the business with the focus on how do I become profitable, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a slight difference, but that slight paradigm can send you down two different paths. One path may be to create a successful business, and the other path is to make money. And again, there's a slight difference in mentality there, but it's the compounding effect of that mentality over a period of time that I believe puts people in two different spots once they get down the road. In general, you know, people want to make as much money as they possibly can without expanding their comfort zones, and as with little effort as possible. That's what people want. You know, and many trainers in network marketing and other niches have found that it's real easy to tell people what they want to hear so they can sell them what they want to sell them. And telling people that they're going to have to expand their comfort zones or develop new skill sets or mindsets, that doesn't go real well. And it's not a popular opinion to have. You know, how many internet marketing promos have you talked to where the guy's talking about it, a lady's talking about, you know, they were a lazy bum that played video games every day, and then they found this magic bullet that filled their PayPal with overflowing cash every day, so much that they couldn't stop it, or so on and so forth. You know what I'm talking about? So most people would rather not have to think about it. They don't want to have to think. They'd rather just win the lottery. Yeah, they just would. People would rather win the lottery than build a business that creates cash flow. You know, you can win the lottery, or you can build a business that creates cash flow that will pay you more than the lottery. Most people would take the lottery winnings because they wouldn't have to think. They wouldn't have to expand their comfort zone. You know, they just want to stay who they are and be wealthy and get rich. And life doesn't work that way. Business doesn't work that way. There's a reason most lottery winners are broke and worse off than when they won, than before they won. They're worse off in 5 years. But there's a real concern that I have, and I think a lot of career-minded network marketers should have, and that's the fact that there's tens of thousands of former MLM distributors and credible companies with quality products that are leaving the network marketing profession for these Ponzi schemes that are all over the internet. All over the internet. And we're talking to them again. We've talked to thousands of people this year so far. And I've just been amazed and really shocked at the number of people that have left very credible companies, credible businesses that have been around for years with a track record of shipping products on time and paying distributors on time, and how many people have left these solid companies for these type of investment scams. And again, these type of scams have been around for years, but since the popularity of cryptocurrency and the fact that most people are ignorant around blockchain and digital currency and crypto, it's become real easy pickings for scammers to be able to capitalize on people's greed and their ignorance. If an investment program is promising you a guaranteed rate of return that seems too good to be true, and if they're offering you payments or bonuses for referring others to the investment, and you get a bonus if you refer a friend who invests money, 100% of the time, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's not a question of will it go down. The only question is, when will it go down? Guaranteed. Guaranteed. If they're offering you an unrealistic rate of return and they pay you bonuses for bringing others in who will invest money, it's a Ponzi scheme. And it's not a matter of if it will go down. It's only a matter of when it will go down and how much money you'll lose in the process. You know, right now you see companies like this CFX, and there's many, many others. There's been over 1,000. It's been estimated there's been over 1,000 of these that have started since Bitcoin and cryptocurrency got really hot in 2016. And, you know, we've seen them come and go if you're paying any attention to this. I realize a lot of network marketers aren't, because when and as I know, it's a Ponzi scheme. But there's a lot of people that got involved, didn't get the proper direction, were not taught properly how to get their business launched, how to create leads for their business, how to create customers, and so on and so forth. What we've been talking about in this podcast for years. And a lot of these people, they're just kind of left alone, and then they get sucked into these other programs because it sounds great. You don't have to do anything. You just put $300 in, and in 2 years you'll have $900. You put, $500 in, and in a year you'll have $1,000 or whatever it is. And I don't have to do anything. I don't have to recruit anybody. I'm just making money. And they're making money on paper. They're making money on their computer screen. But when they try to cash out, they have problems. And again, it's a classic Ponzi scheme. They're paying what they do pay out. It's from new investors coming in, putting money in the system, and that's how they're paying the rates of returns on the back end to people that were in early. It's the same old thing, guys. We've all seen it if you've been around any time at all. But I remember probably a couple years ago, a gentleman that I thought was pretty credible had a guest on a podcast. King Courtright was the guy's name, and he operated, I think I've talked about it on this podcast, or I wrote an article about it maybe over at MLMhelp.com, but it was called The Income Store, and it might be at MLMsuccess.com. I really don't remember. I think it was an article now that I think about it. But it was The Income Store, and this guy sounded real credible. His wife sounded credible. I think her dad was like a state senator or something, maybe in Ohio or Indiana somewhere. I don't really remember. And basically he was buying income producing websites was his pitch, and he guaranteed you, like 15% return or 20% return a year for managing your website for you, and anything over 20%, him and his team, that was their profit. So they do a guaranteed contract with you, guarantee you 15% a year return, and if it doesn't make that, then they buy you another website. And it was just an unbelievable pitch. And I thought, if this is true, my dad's got monies in CDs. He should just do this. Let this guy do this. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, it's like, there's no way this is right. And sure enough, it wasn't too long after that, they came in and raided him, and I forgot how many millions of dollars people had invested. And it was just a flat out Ponzi scheme. It's called The Income Store. You can look at that if you want. And that's a little bit different. That wasn't all online. This guy was doing seminars, and he was on podcasts, and he had his own podcast. And last I heard, he was on the run. I don't know if they've caught up with him and his wife yet, but they were on the run, and authorities were looking for him. But that one was a little bit close to home for me. So, because I was really considering, sharing it with my dad. And I'm glad I did a little bit of due diligence and just, took a breath and thought about it for a little bit before, I showed him. And I'm glad, I wasn't really looking at it because I'd rather do it myself than have somebody else do it. But I could see how if it was legit, it would be very appealing to a lot of people. And then, of course, we've seen all the internet scams that have come and gone, the crypto scams. It's just full of it over the last, 4 or 5 years. Of course, everybody remembers BitConnect. Y'all probably seen the BitConnect dude. BitConnect. He's going crazy. But BitConnect's, Centratech, Pincoin, Plexcoin, OneCoin. How many coin deals have we seen come and go, and the big story and hype behind it, and they were just blatant Ponzi schemes. And investigators are now, what's starting to happen, and it should be concerning to everybody, especially if you have a friend or family member involved in one of these crypto programs are going on today, Forex programs, platforms. Investigators are now, when they shut these down, if they get big enough, then they'll get shut down. Most people that start these, then 2, 3, 4 years down, when it starts getting big enough and they have enough money in their bank account, they take the money and disappear. That's what happens normally. But if they don't, and if they hang around too long, then the government agencies are coming after them. And that's just kind of how these all play out. And what's happening now, if investigators are not just going and shutting down the companies, but they're actually going after the promoters, the distributors, the promoters of the scams, which means it means what you think it means. It means if you promote one of these programs, I mean, you could literally end up in jail. And, and I hear this, and I've talked to a lot of people, I was talking to a guy last week. He says, yeah, Dale, but CFX has, I can't remember. It was, 42,000 members or whatever. Such and such has X, they got all these other people. And it's just fascinating to me. It's like, so what? I mean, I don't understand. I understand that logic exists in normal human beings, but it's never existed in me. I've just observed it in other people. I've never understood that. I don't care how many people are doing it. I mean, y'all have heard me say on this podcast a dozen times, if 1,000 people say a stupid thing, it's still a stupid thing. I mean, didn't your mom tell you if your buddy jumped off a skyscraper, would you do it? If your buddy jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? I mean, my grandmom told me that my whole life. Just because somebody else is doing it does not mean it's a good idea. If 1,000 people say a stupid thing, it's still a stupid thing. If 45,000 people are a member, it doesn't mean it's a good thing. Just because 45,000 people got sucked into it, so now you're going to get sucked into it. Doesn't make any sense to me. I understand that's how people think. It's like, I never made a buying decision. I buy everything on Amazon. I've never made a buying decision about how many reviews something had. I don't care. But I understand most people do. But again, that's not good business sense. It's from a getting involved in a business or an investment standpoint. Again, if 1,000 people jump off a bridge, are you going to jump off the bridge? So these type of investment scams, a lot of them call themselves network marketing companies, and that's only because they allow you to recruit. They allow you to recruit other members. But if you're putting money in and there's not a tangible product sold retail to customers, then you're involved in a program that's headed for trouble. I mean, how many of you remember back in the day, Gold Unlimited? I mean, my phone was ringing off the hook. Everybody and their brothers seemed like were involved in that. And of course, it didn't last very long, and they finally got shut down. They got real big real quick. What about all the paid to surf programs 20 years ago? You put in X number of dollars, and then you surf like a dozen websites every day, and then you get paid an astronomical return on your money. And I got sucked into one of those 20 years ago. And I wish I hadn't, but I did. And I can't remember the name of the company now, but it went out of business. And, I had a lot of money sitting in that account when it went out, and it, my account showed every day that I got my 2% that day or whatever it was. And within about 4 or 5 months, I had a hefty amount of money sitting in that back end. And I am thankful I went in, and I remember taking out my initial investment. I can't remember what it was, but I let the rest just sit there. I could have taken it all, and I let the rest just sit there, and I was just going to keep it growing and compounding. And then they came in and shut down the whole thing. And I should have known better then. I should have. That was 20 years ago. But how many times do you have to see the same type of Ponzi scam repeated over and over and over before you finally figure it out? I mean, any of you remember Zeke Rewards? I mean, it ran for almost 2 years before the authorities caught up with it. I went and I just found the SEC write-up about it, and I'm just going to share this because this is if these programs get big enough, this is what happens. They're going to get shut down. They're going to. Most don't get big enough. Most, again, they take the money, they shut it down, and they disappear. That's what normally happens. But Zeke Rewards, some of you remember that. It says on Friday, August 17th, 2012. So that's been several years ago. Wow, it's 2012. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. The Securities and Exchange Commission filed an emergency action in North Carolina federal court alleging that Zeke Rewards and its founder, Paul Burks, was involved in one of the largest Ponzi schemes in history. The move came as many began to question the legality of the operation and whether its promised 1.5% daily returns were simply too good to be true. Does this sound familiar? Those of you involved in some of this CFX and some of these other programs, 1.5% daily returns were simply too good to be true. These fears were confirmed on Friday with the unavailability of Zeke's website and the closure of its North Carolina headquarters, serving as an anonymous sign leading up to the SEC's announcement Friday evening that it had halted the scheme as it teetered on the verge of collapse. The sheer number of victims which authorities estimate top 1 million people, 1 million, likely earned Zeke in the infamous distinction of the largest Ponzi scheme in history by the number of investors. They had over 1 million people in this. And I had a lot of friends that were calling me, and a lot of them were doing it, but I learned my lesson. Anyway, it will add a layer of complexity never before in trying to unravel the scheme and distribute funds to investors. For the sake of comparison, the number of investors in Bernie Madoff's, the Wall Street dude, the number of investors in Bernie Madoff's $65 billion Ponzi scheme, the largest in history by investor losses, was only in the thousands. So Bernie Madoff had thousands of participants in his scheme. Zeke Rewards, which was touted as a network marketing company, had over 1 million. I'm going to put a link to the video of some of the top scams that have been going on the internet really since 2016. I'll put it in the show notes. And guys, listen, I'm the first person absolutely to tell someone, look, you're with a network marketing company that has peaked. You're behind the wave. You know, as Curry and I talked about here a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. And you can only ride the wave once. And the wave's already come to shore. It's done. And after it's crashed, you can love the products, you can love the people, the ownership, but you're never going to achieve your true upside potential after a company has peaked. You're just not. You're just not. And what we're talking about with these programs, you know, it's totally different. I'm not talking about the fact that, you know, 90% of network marketing companies, you know, will never get off the ground and never make it 5 years. And those that do, after they peak, the big money has been made, and you will never make the same legacy income. You will not have the legacy income opportunity ever again. I'm not saying you can't make a great living, but you'll never have a legacy income opportunity after the wave has already crashed on the beach. And that's not what I'm talking about. What we're talking about with these programs is totally different. And I tell people, look, get your money out and get out as soon as possible. And again, I have a friend that was in Zeke Rewards, and the last I heard, I haven't talked to him since all this, but the last I heard, he was getting ready to lose his house. He was going to go to jail. He was going to do some jail time because he was one of the very top promoters in that company. And they not only shut the company down and prosecuted the owners, but they were coming after the promoters, the distributors as well. Bookmark this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, because you probably have friends right now that are involved in CFX or some similar type program. And we found that many people that we've talked to, they simply don't know any better. They don't know any better. There's a lot of newbies, but there's a lot of other people that, they've just not been around this very long, and they get sucked in, and then greed takes over. And I hope you'll let them hear this podcast. And if a friend sent this to you, thank them. Get your money out. Stop promoting the scam, or you could really risk jail time. And just find a legitimate company at the right place, at the right time, with the right team. Go to work and ride the wave and build a real business that you can be proud of. This is Dale Calvert. We'll talk to you again soon on the MLM Success Podcast.
If you haven't gone over to iTunes yet and rated and left this podcast a review, what are you waiting for? At Calvert Marketing Group, we want to spend our time on the projects that we know are providing the most value for our clients and customers. You leaving us a review and feedback on iTunes is something that helps us more than you realize. And more importantly, it helps others like you find us. So if you've not taken the time to rate this podcast, please go over to iTunes and do that for us now. It will only take a couple of minutes out of your busy schedule. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business, and we will be back next week with another inspiring success story.